All right, everybody, welcome to the show, Fanning the Flame. Even though I don't fan the flame, I put gasoline on the flame, and so does my guest here, Glenn Gilbertti, the Disco Inferno. Glenn, how you doing today?
You keep calling me Gilbernetti, and you know it's Gilberti, and you just kind of like I think it's kind of like a disrespectful. Do you know the story behind the Glenn Gilbernetti
You
name?
know, Glenn Gilbertti, I do, but I would love you to tell me it again.
I was the first organization I wrestled for out of training was called North Georgia Championship Wrestling, and the guy that ran the show's name was Sammy Kent. Okay, they had a little puppet, like they would have called Junior, like it was a little like hand puppet thing that he used, but it was funny, but he was illiterate. Okay, and he couldn't read and write very well. So my debut match that I had on the show, he wrote down Glenn Gilbernetti, thinking that's how you spell Gilberti, and everybody started calling me Glenn Gilbernetti. Okay, even though it's because he just So to this day, that was 20 something years ago, 23 years ago. So I was like, people just knew me as Glenn Gilbernetti, and they actually reported my name like in the kayfabe sheet says Glenn Gilbernetti. And I tell a few people, it's not Gilbernetti, it's Gilberti.
Now,
But like,
I love Gilbernetti. That's why I call you Glenn Gilbertti. Glenn, you know what I love about you, bro? Here's what I love about you. You have a way of like saying the simplest things that just say so much. I mean, you really do, and that's a compliment because a lot of times I'll read a Glenn Gilbertti remark, and it's so short and sweet, but it reads volumes. And you had one of these the other day. And right after you said it, I had a very, very similar experience. And I was like, you know what? I got to talk to Glenn about this because we have to get into this a little deeper.
mhm.
You were on Twitter the other day, bro, and every now and then I just catch your comments on Twitter. And, bro, I guess it was, one of these other great, fake wrestling epics that were on television, a five-star epic and the greatest match anybody ever saw. And, they're reporting on the match, blow by blow on the internet sites, the whole 9 yards. And you had like the simplest comment in the world. And the comment went something to the effect of, when the Honky Tonk Man was wrestling Jake the Snake Roberts, I don't think anybody ever cared about match quality.
Right.
And it popped me huge because it was so simple. But, Glenn, I got to tell you, like a week later, Glenn, I was watching an episode of from the Attitude Era, and Brian Christopher was wrestling Taka Michinoku.
hmm
And the finish of the match was Jerry Lawler getting involved and getting Christopher DQ'd, right?
hmm
And this is 1998, Glenn, and I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing the audience and the reaction and everything, and I'm saying, you know what? Nobody gives a crap that this match ended in a DQ. Like nobody cared, bro. It was part of the story, a long-going storyline that was going on, and like the finish was secondary. Nobody cared about the finish, and that's why when you talk about like Honky Tonk Man and Jake the Snake Roberts, who gave a crap about what the finish of the match was and the body of the match and laying out the match? So my question to you, Glenn, is how did this get to such ridiculous proportions where people are literally covering matches, writing blow by blow descriptions of a choreographed wrestling match? How did we get to this point?
Um, just over the course of time, match quality became the driving force in the interest in professional wrestling. Okay, and what you did there was as the fans got smartened up, the video gamer kid, through his knowledge of reading about the wrestling on the internet, reading reviews of matches, reading what good work is, or this they put this guy over. So the kid at home, the 135 pound kid that picks his nose and eats his boogers that plays video games and sits in his room all day, all of a sudden that kid knows how to work. So that kid knows how to wrestle because he's read so much. It's like the Holiday Inn Express commercial. Do you know how to wrestle? Well, I don't know how to wrestle, but I stayed in a Holiday Inn Express. You can read so much on it, you learn how to wrestle. So what you do is, through the internet, there's so many bloggers and trolls and stuff and everything. They want to just prove to everybody how smart they are. So they like to rate the matches, okay? And as match quality became the driving force in professional wrestling, these guys that were good workers and stuff, nobody cared that, like, they can't interview, they don't have any charisma, they don't have a gimmick. They're just guys out there wrestling each other. And as this kind of like mindset, I call it, infested the business. Okay, it changed what we're supposed to be watching wrestling for. Wrestling is supposed to be a male soap opera. What happened to the male soap opera, where the melodrama and the personal issues between two guys on a personal level were evolved each week through storytelling? The matches were secondary. The matches were an interlude, to progress the storyline. The storylines drove the shows. These days, all you hear people say is, "I can't wait to see this guy wrestle this guy. I can't wait to see this guy wrestle this guy. I can't wait." Bro, I never saw it that way. When we grew up, I wanted to see Ric Flair in an angle with Macho Man Savage. Not because I couldn't wait to see the match. It's because I couldn't wait to see the soap opera develop between the two characters. That's disappeared. Everything now is match quality, work rate, who can work, regardless of what the guys look like, regardless of how well the guys talk. All the people care about is how good is the match. And that's what happened when people, all you care about is that. The people that don't care about the match, that just care about the soap opera and storytelling, that you've taken away the soap opera and storytelling from the show, I don't give a rat's ass about the match. I'm not watching this anymore. I don't want to watch. Bro, Raw on Monday had over 1 hour of wrestling. 1 hour, 1/3 of the show, where non-wrestling fans were turning on the TV, channel surfing, seeing matches, and turning it off because wrestling was on. 33% of the show. Okay, not to mention the rest of the content they're filling in is corny backstage conversations and these long drawn out boring interviews. Bro, it's gotten to the point where the fans of wrestling today are a cult. They're a niche audience that all they care about is the how good is the fake wrestling match. To the point is that they've lost the whole point. Bro, everybody loves Kevin Owens because he can so supposedly work great. He works great matches. Bro, they're forgetting the guy's supposed to be a heel. Okay, we're not supposed to like Kevin Owens.
Right.
We're not, as a wrestling fan, we're not supposed to like the guy. We can't wait to see him because we know he's going to go out there and wrestle a good match. We want to see the guy get his ass kicked by somebody. We want to see the guy get beat up because he's disliked. That's lost.
Yeah.
Like there's no, so that's what's happened to wrestling is the fans have gotten smart enough to the point where everybody that watches it knows how to do it. They think they know what's good and what's bad, and they like to write about it and blog about it. And they don't care what people look like anymore. All they care about is 275-pound kids go out there and do scripted acrobatics for 20 minutes, and then the crowd can chant, "This is awesome, great spot." They do these death-defying high-risk moves, risking their necks and life and stuff and everything else, and they think that's great. Where I grew up on, the honky tonk man, hit the Jake the Snake in the snake pit over the head with the guitar.
Right.
So that was an impact.
But Glenn, here's the thing. Listen, what you're talking about though, and what I'm talking about, this didn't just start. A lot of this, in my opinion, is the fault of the WWE, and I'll tell you why. Listen, a lot of the same internet, Glenn, they've been talking about match quality and who are the good workers. Let's face it, bro. These are the same people that were burying, the Attitude Era back in the day because it wasn't wrestling. So this has been around for a while, but having worked at the WWE, Glenn, I could tell you firsthand, it was always ignored. It was always never paid attention to. We never read the dirt sheets. Nobody cared what Dave Meltzer had to say. We were entertaining the mass audience. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, Glenn, you can go to a specific date and time where the WWE, for whatever reason, clearly started to listen to the internet. And that was Royal Rumble in Philadelphia when they booked it horribly, which forced everybody to boo Roman Reigns out of the building, who they were intending to get over. But from that point on, it seemed like the WWE started listening to the internet community. They changed their plans for Reigns, which changed all the plans for the company. They really started going more wrestling heavy, where it's wrestling 3 segments. A match is 3 segments long. Wrestling. If you go back to last January, it has gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. And this is where I scratch my head. Where I scratch my head is, at what point and why did the WWE decide to listen to the wrestling internet, who has been there for the last 10 years?
Because they're the only people left watching the show, bro. It's like they embraced a small crowd feel of wrestling. They've gotten all the Ring of Honor workers. They get all the indie workers, all these guys that have been wrestling in front of 300 people. They put them down in NXT. Okay, then they basically, bro, everybody blows up NXT like it's great, bro. Bro, I watch it. I see that they're green guys. These are like the rank amateurs of professional wrestling going out there, and they're blowing it up like they're the greatest thing, and it's better than Raw. They've embraced the small audiences. Okay, NXT is a small audience, but what do? They blow it up on the internet. It's hashtagged on Twitter. It's they think they're reaching more people. Bro, all the people are doing that they're reaching is they're seeing, okay, all right, NXT's on tonight. It's not getting me to buy the network. It's not getting me to watch it. It's not getting me. It's like somebody's like, it's like they're what's the word I want to use? They're it's like they're throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall to see if it sticks, but they're still not doing anything to get the fans back that want to watch wrestling because it's a soap opera.
Well, but see, that's the question, Glenn, that I have to ask. Are you saying, in your opinion, do you feel like they've just totally given up on getting that mass audience? I was talking to our buddy Ed the other day, and Ed basically says they don't know how to get that mass audience back. They don't know how to do it. That's why they're kowtowing, to the smart fans. The business is becoming a niche business, and those are the only people watching it. Do you think they've given up on trying to get that mass audience back?
I don't think they've given up, bro. I think they actually, because they're so engrossed in what they're doing, they're so engrossed in the social media that when they produce something, they think it's good until the number comes in. And they're wondering why in the world, like, bro, everybody's talking about this on Twitter, what a great match this is. Why are the numbers not going up? Because they're the only people watching the show. I said that. I put out a tweet the other day. The WWE needs to stop listening to the fans that watch the show and start listening to the fans, paying attention to the fans that aren't watching the show. What did the fans that aren't watching the show like? Well, they obviously don't like wrestling matches because they were putting tons of wrestling matches on TV, 12 to 14, 15 minutes long, and people are not watching that. I mean, it's to me, the formula is this. I mean, we laugh at this, but people that watch the shows every week and have been watching shows for every 20 years and stuff, they look at me and you like we're stupid. Like we killed the business. Like we don't know what you. Everything we do turns to crap. Like we don't. I'm like, guys, they go, you are endorsing a product that is. It's like you're selling me a stock and endorsing a stock that's just going down the tubes.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, you're selling me stock in professional wrestling and match quality day. It's like, bro, that hasn't worked in was it 15 years? They're losing 10% of their audience every single year. To the point, bro, next year, I'm predicting right now, next year at this time, we're going to be below the 3 point or the 2.0. We're going to be in the 119 because they're losing 10% of their audience every single year.
I think, Glenn, you're being generous. I really do. I'm looking more at January of this year. I'll be honest with you, bro. I think you're being generous. But Glenn, you want to know something that's amazing to me? Listen, Glenn, right now, I have, VinceRussoBrand.com. I do this on Wrestlinging. I'm in the wrestling business. Glenn, everybody across the board who is associated with the wrestling business, who makes a living in the wrestling business. By that, I mean from the independent wrestler, bro, to the promoter, to the dirt sheet writer. Everybody that makes a living on professional wrestling and depends on professional wrestling for an income, these are the very people putting over the product that is eventually going to put them out of business. They're talking there about how great this is, how great there is. As the WWE loses viewers, they lose subscribers, but yet they're sitting there saying how great everything is.
Yeah, and they're getting ready, brother. Get ready to they're making NXT seem almost as important as the WWE show is, bro. They're getting all these NXT guys, and you can't show me anything in the numbers that saying they're bringing all these guys in and they're increasing the audience. Okay,
Yeah.
they're losing the audience. So think about this. People like I see tweets sometimes. People tweeting those like, "Oh, ratings don't matter anymore." I go, "What are you talking about, bro?" I go, "Ratings mean more than anything right now because the ratings represent your market to sell the network." I go, "If you are losing, if your market to sell the network is decreasing on a weekly basis, who in the hell is going to buy the network?" You have to think about this. There's people that argue this with me, that if you don't increase your television audience, you won't increase the amount of people that will buy the network, okay? And people look at me and argue with me on this like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Glenn, I love how all of a sudden, I swear to God, this is what I love. You just said it. I love how all of a sudden ratings don't matter. Okay, first of all, if that's the case, why do we have them? Why do we have them if they don't matter, number one? Number two, how does a network decide, okay, what show stays on and what shows are getting the axe? Somebody's opinion? I like Carrie and the Hendersons, so that show's going to stay. Glenn, do you know I'm dabbling a little here in like FM radio, but it's iHeart Radio, right? Glenn, I met with the GM of this huge network out here in Colorado Springs the other day. Glenn, the first sentence out of his mouth was about ratings. Radio, the first sentence. And people that want to argue ratings don't matter because the WWE is taking a nosedive, I don't even know how you argue with those people.
What are you asking me for? How to argue with them? Bro, I don't know how to argue with those people either. I mean, they just ignore. That's the thing. People don't want to be wrong. People don't ever want to admit they're wrong. Okay, from the point of like Vince McMahon probably does not want to admit he's wrong.
Right.
Because Stephanie McMahon does not want to admit these are people with tremendous egos.
Yes.
Okay, the Dave Meltzers and the Wade Kellers and these guys that have basically paraded or endorsed these guys over the years. These professional wrestlers that they think should be pushed to the top because they're such great workers, they don't want to admit that, like, hey, we've pushed these guys to the top, and guys, they didn't draw a dime.
Right.
I mean, as a matter of fact, they've actually, you can blame, and then that's what they do. They blame the creative.
Right.
Nobody ever wants to accept any responsibility for what I call their faulty prognostications.
Right.
Okay, you endorsed something. They took it. They put it on TV. This guy has his chance. He's been doing it out there. Well, why are 10% of the audience? Why are we losing fans? I thought we were going to put these guys on, and wrestling was going to go. But I actually had a bet with a friend of mine that NXT had a big show. What was the last big NXT show they had?
That Brooklyn show, I guess, right?
Brooklyn show. He's like, oh, wrestling's going to blow up. You watch it, stuff and everything. I go, bro, it's not. I go, all the Brooklyn show did was take every NXT fan around the Northeast, and they flew into Brooklyn and went and watched the show. The same people went and watched SummerSlam the next night.
Right.
I go, the cult had a convention. And
Yeah.
that's what I call it, bro. Let me finish this real quick.
Yeah.
The big shows of wrestling have been basically become their comic book conventions, where all the fans show up. It doesn't do anything to increase your audience. It just gives something to the fans, like a big show for all the fans to go to. Like I said, bro, they've embraced. It's the comic book crowd these days that are the wrestling fans. Like it's just the same thing. They love to blog and talk about the comic books, and the comic books becoming the movies and stuff. It's the same thing. They all know better. So it's like that's where you're at these days.
Yeah, Glenn, I was cracking up, man. I was cracking up when NXT had that show in Brooklyn, and Hunter's tweeting out that they sold 13,000 tickets. And I'm just sitting there saying, okay, Hunter, that's great. What about the 7 million you lost on Monday night? You know what I mean, bro?
Bro, it's like if you have the Super Bowl and then in the same town, in the same building the next day is the college national championship game, the people that are there for the Super Bowl are going to go see the college national championship game. It's like it's the same people that bought the tickets. I mean, you could probably, give or take, probably 10% of the audience. The two audiences was probably the exact same amount of people going to both shows. So it's just that I don't know.
Glenn, I want to bring up something now with you that I just hit upon this the other day, and I just really started thinking about it yesterday, and I did a podcast where I was just talking out loud because I don't think I've taken a side yet, but I'm talking out loud. And Glenn, I'll tell you what got me talking, okay? What got me talking and thinking was I was watching Raw the other night. This Tyler Breeze comes out. I swear to God, Glenn, this guy looks like a 12-year-old kid. He looks like a child. I mean, he looks like he wouldn't even be like an appetizer for King Kong Bundy. He looks like a kid. He looks like the furthest thing from a wrestling star that you could imagine. But let's face it, Glenn, all these guys coming up from NXT do. They try to compare Ascension to Demolition and LOD, which is the perfect example. But I mean, bro, like just all these guys. Owens doesn't look like a wrestler. None of these guys look like wrestlers. So now I start thinking, okay, why don't these guys look like wrestlers? Well, now I go back to the fact of, okay, let's look at this logically. We're no longer a mom and pop company. We're a publicly traded company. If this were a mom and pop company and guys were on steroids or guys were on PEDs, Vince McMahon would have the ability to sweep it under the rug, put a blanket over it, hide it. Nobody would ever know. You can't do that with a publicly traded company. But he would have to answer questions. So just assume that the WWE now is looking for the 100% clean athlete. Okay, maybe that partially explains why these guys don't look like wrestlers anymore, giving them the benefit of the doubt. But Glenn, now I'm starting to think of a conversation I had with Chael Sonnen. And he's a big advocate, bro, on, PEDs should be legalized. If you can enhance your performance in any way, shape, or form, you should be allowed to. Now, I kind of disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. Because with MMA, you're a big sports fan, Glenn. With MMA, Major League Baseball, football, professional sports, well, now you get into an area of unfair competition. The playing field is not fair if some of these guys are taking PEDs and some aren't. You've got an uneven playing field. So when there's a winner and a loser, I can understand, okay, nobody could take PEDs. But in wrestling, bro, there are no winners or losers. This is entertainment. You're not getting the advantage to win the fight because you're on performance-enhancing drugs. Now, when we talk about entertainment, Sylvester Stallone has admitted to going on PEDs when he had to get ripped and cut for Rocky 3 and 4. Schwarzenegger has admitted it. For some of his movie roles, he got on PEDs. If wrestling is entertainment and the outcome isn't legitimate, Why shouldn't guys be allowed to use performance enhancing drugs if that's what they choose to do?
But I've been saying that you're arguing a point that I've been making for 5, 6 years. Like I said, the whole point of it is, wrestling's not performance enhancing because it's scripted entertainment. It's ridiculous. So, to think that they shouldn't be called PEDs. They're not performance enhancing drugs. They make you look better. Secondly, these days now, you can go to a doctor. Anybody can go to a doctor, a men's health clinic. You get prescribed testosterone and growth hormone. Okay. However, because it's under the PED, guidelines in professional sports, you can't do that. For some reason, professional wrestling is mirroring that. They're like, because they don't want to get regular. I don't know whether they're scared of the backlash or the government coming down on them, or they don't want the. Because what will happen is a bunch of journalists will get on it like, oh, these wrestlers are taking steroids, because they don't have any knowledge of it. The only people that complain about the PEDs are the people that have never taken them before and have never really looked good. It's like kind of like it's like almost like a jealousy thing. Like, oh, why should they be able to take performance PEDs that look like that? They make up all these excuses why they're bad. Oh, you abuse them stuff, bro. These are drugs that are administered under doctors' care. Okay, people abuse them. But steroids, testosterone and growth hormone are still prescribed by doctors to people and they make you look better. Roger Clemens. Okay, here's my point of professional sports. Why would professional sports not want their athletes that have fans to be able to compete in the sport for as long as they possibly can to help them make money? Here's the third thing is that I've always thought was so hypocritical about sports with PEDs, bro. They're charging enhanced ticket prices. I would suggest if I'm paying enhanced prices, I would like to see enhanced performances. I want to see the long home runs. I want to see the guys hitting 67 home runs a year. Bro, baseball was exciting back then. They've taken the PEDs out of the sport, and what's happened? The numbers have gone down, the home runs have gone down, and the interest level in professional baseball has gone down. People like the long ball. People like, the people like looking at people that look larger than life. When you turn on the TV and see a guy with a pot belly and a t-shirt wrestling another guy without a tan that doesn't look good and stuff, everything and all that, and they're on the show for 14 minutes wrestling each other, who are you selling that to? It's like you're selling it to the people that have been watching for 15 years, but not to anybody else that wants to watch it.
Glenn, let me ask you this, because you are so much more educated on this than me. This is why I'm asking you, because I don't know, Glenn. Listen, Glenn, obviously now, our era of wrestling, a lot of these guys, when they turn, 60, 65, 70, some of them drop dead, due to steroid use, all kinds of horror stories. Has that changed, Glenn? I mean, like you said, a lot of them are prescribed. Glenn, I know I had a condition last year. The guy gave me steroids. I know he did. But is the risk factor there to affect the wrestler down the road today like it was 20 years ago?
Not if they're taken under doctor's care. The doctors are going to prescribe you the proper amount that's not going to hurt your body. They're going to give you the prescribed amount that helps your body. It's like you could sit there and say, bro, people talk about the steroids and the drugs and everything and all that. Professional wrestlers, they die too early. Bro, but let's not forget, you can't ignore the amount of physical stress a professional wrestler has gone under through his lifetime. 15 years of getting slammed, down on hard surfaces for 15 years, 200 nights a year. I would suggest that probably has a lot more to do with the breaking down of a person's physical condition than abusing a steroid or, drinking too much or stuff. You can't take a human being and beat them up like professional wrestlers have been gotten beat up over the years and think that they're going to last 72, to be 72 years old like everybody else. It's just the bell curve. It's common sense. The ones that have taken care of their bodies are the ones that are living longer. But bro, you would think, just based on what we've done for a living, that of course professional wrestlers would die sooner than other people just because of the stress. But they can sit there and they'll point out, well, he took steroids. Well, he took, he was drinking. He took pain pills. Stuff. Bro, that's all fine and dandy. You can argue that, but I can also argue that that's just a small factor compared to what professional wrestlers do, for a living, getting beat up. So, I mean, today there's always today we live in the culture of what do you call it? PC code. What's the word you use? Politically correct. Okay, we live in the politically correct culture, and all anybody wants to do is complain. All everybody there's people out there waiting to get offended every day. They're just waiting for something to come up that can offend them, so they can go on and like, I'm offended by that and stuff. And people like the steroid issue, because steroids not taken under doctor's care are illegal, just love to talk about, oh, this guy's on steroids, we need to stop steroids. People are dumb, and they're not educated about it.
Yeah.
If everybody went to a men's health clinic, I haven't been to one, but I know people that have, and they explain to you the benefits of taking, testosterone and taking growth hormone for longevity, to help you live longer and healthier. They would probably respect it more than just thinking like, oh, that guy's on steroids. He died because he had a heart attack because he was on steroids. There's a negative, very negative outlook on it today. But really, over the course of time, you'll see in the next 10 years or so, bro, the positives of testosterone and growth hormone are going to be seen by people in society.
Yeah. Because, Glenn, I'm just looking at, let's face it, again, wrestling is entertainment, bro. And we are in an era where, Glenn, every freaking, whether you're an actress, whether you're an actor, whether you're a singer, a dancer, it doesn't matter. All of these people are getting, plastic surgery to enhance their looks, to get the better role, to get the magazine covers. They're all enhancing their looks. What's the difference between somebody getting cut on compared to somebody taking a pill? I mean, if a girl could get, triple E's by popping a pill instead of getting breast implants, they'd pop the pill. But yet they're still allowed, it's still legal to go get your body transformed, but yet you can't do it through form of a substance. And another thing like that I talked about is, bro, what about Caitlyn Jenner?
Yeah.
What Bruce Jenner had to take to become a female, like, why was that okay with everybody?
Just because that's like, you can't, it's the PC culture, man. You can't criticize what Bruce Jenner did. You have to embrace it. That's the way our society is these days. Like, bro, like you said, like people want to look better. But it's common sense in like the movie world. Women are, men like me and you, we're not going to go see a Rosie O'Donnell movie. We're going to go see a Mila Kunis movie. Okay. Right. Women are going to go see Brad Pitt. They're not going to go, pay to go see the Steve Buscemi movie. It's just marketing and common sense. People want to see good looking people. Yes. The better you look, the more marketable you are. I mean, that's just a basic, aspect of TV and society and stuff and all that. But and it's funny, like, to tie this into wrestling, I don't think they don't care. They have a few people on the show that look good, but they got no problem putting guys on the show that don't look good. And I'm like, you have to you have to stay in shape to be a professional wrestler. Mm-hmm. If you're not in shape, you are doing yourself a disservice, and you are doing a disservice to your boss, and you are doing a disservice to your show, because if you're not in shape and you physically don't look good, you are giving viewers that turn on your show that want to watch wrestling a chance to turn it off because you don't pass the eye test.
But you want to know something, Glenn? And I'm not going to mention any names here, but this just took place recently. I know somebody that I know, and I'm not going to mention his name. Let me put it to you this way, Glenn, is a great actor. An unbelievable actor, believable, off the charts, went to the training facility, okay? And basically they told him, they made it clear to him, our number one top priority is in-ring work. That we don't care how you look. We don't care if you can act. We are looking for in-ring workers. So they're telling them how you look is not important. I mean, Glenn, let's face it.
That's unbelievable.
Glenn, not to pick on the guy, but if a guy like Kevin Owens made it to the WWE, mm-hmm. who else can make it there, bro?
Anybody. Bro, these days the kids are, the video gamers and the blogger, the video game kids, they're actually wrestling now. They're not playing the video games.
Right.
They're out going in the backyard doing the flips on the mattress and like they're becoming the wrestlers. And you can see at the shows, bro. All the guys, all the boys play video games. But and they were all like video gamers at some point. They all read comic books. It's like we've actually taken the fans and made them the boys. You know?
Yeah,
So,
and Glenn, you want to hear something scary, Glenn? I don't go out to many of these conventions anymore, but I did. Sean Oliver, bro.
Wait, time out, real quick. Just say, this aside. Just we're talking about comic, bro. I didn't really notice this. Your room you're in there looks so much like Raven's house. It's unbelievable. With all the toys and stuff.
Bro,
and
Raven's ducking me. Raven's ducking me for months.
Why is he ducking? I don't know. It's kind of weird, but that's like,
I'm trying to get Raven on the show, bro. He's ducking me for months, and I always put over his comic book collection.
We'll continue about Sean Oliver. Did you watch my kayfabe commentary?
Yes, I did, bro, and I plugged the crap out of it, bro. Right. I tell everybody, if you watch anything, you got to watch this. But I did the convention because it was Sean, and I really like him. But, I mean, Glenn, it's like every time I look up, bro, you know when you're seeing a wrestler. You know what I'm saying, Glenn? Like, all right, there's Mr. Backlund. You know what I mean? Like, the wrestlers stand out. There's China. The wrestlers stand out like sore thumbs, okay? Glenn, this really opened up my eyes. This is a convention full of wrestling fans. Glenn, they're throwing around $20 bills like they're dollar bills. I swear to you, Glenn, 9 out of every 10 person that I was talking to, hey, you're a wrestling fan? Yeah, but I don't watch it anymore. Everybody, bro, they've changed the sport. They've changed it. It's something completely different than what professional wrestling's supposed to be.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like you don't. I mean, you got to explain that to me. But I've been saying this all along. Your buddy Cornette had actually a great quote on Twitter and stuff and all that. He says, "Today we're exhibiting a performance instead of watching two guys fight each other. Mm-hmm. Wrestling was supposed to be. Wrestling was supposed to be. We're paying to see the fight. Now it's like we're paying to see the quality of the match.
Yeah.
So like we don't care how the guys look. We just care about what they can do and stuff, everything. So it's like, and the thing is, like, smaller guys that don't look the part can do more athletic and acrobatic stuff, but they don't, none of them look like, like I said, I teach a wrestling class, and I teach on every Wednesday, and like there's 5 days a week. They have different trainers. Kenny King is one of the trainers.
I love Kenny King.
Hey, good kid. So the other guys teaching stuff and everything and all that. They I'm sure they'll learn how to wrestle. But all I'm teaching these guys on Wednesdays, we go over the same thing every single week. I said, guys, I'm going to teach you to look like you can fight. I teach you like to throw good punches and kicks and look like the fan. Okay, doesn't want to hit the ring and beat you up because he knows he can. Don't fight. Don't throw kicks like a sissy. Don't punch like a sissy. I go, wrestling fans these days, they're going to go to a show. There's going to be 10 matches. Everybody's going to be flip flopping and flying and everything. But if you look like, regardless of how your physical appearance, if you look like you can beat the other guy up at some point, you're going to look different. Mm-hmm. Like, bro, I watch the shows these days. Do any of those guys ever out there look like they're fighting each other?
No, never.
Or does it look like what?
It looks like
acrobatics.
It looks like Dancing with the Stars.
So the Stars. It looks like the whole show from start to finish. Interviews, everything, what the announcers are saying and stuff. Everything looks like it's following a script.
Yeah.
And the match is scripted acrobatics. The match is not a scripted fight. Something because like none of these guys. I don't know if any of these guys have been in a fight. Roman Reigns looks like he's been in a fight.
Yeah.
And he probably has. He's a pro football player.
Yeah.
But like him and Brock, if they decided to one day and said like, look, all right, we're going to stand in the middle of this ring. Try to get us out of here. It's like,
Glenn,
could you imagine all the boys coming down? They look like they could beat the whole crew up.
Glenn, you know what the funny thing is? You point out Roman Reigns looks like he's been in a fight. We know his heritage with his family. He was in the NFL. Bro, when you watch that entire show, Roman Reigns is the only one who covers up when somebody's punching him in the face. He's the only one. You'll see him do this, bro. Everybody else will give him and it looks ridiculous, bro.
Yeah, right. It's like,
all right, Glenn, I want to ask you. This will be the last question because I love talking to you every time, and I don't want to push my luck because I always go to the well with you, so I'm not going to keep you too long. But Glenn, you're always ahead of the curve. You are. I mean that. So I have to ask you now. What's the end game, bro? You see where we are. You see where we're going. What's the end game in your opinion?
I'll tell you what. I don't know what the end game is, but I'm training. I'm like down the training school. I'm training a guy right now. I think he's a game changer. Okay, that like he could be a star and get people to watch a show. I think because I'm entertained by him, and everything. I'll actually send you a YouTube clip of some of his stuff, and bro, let me tell you something. He did a thing recently, where like fans or whoever could send interviews into Taz, and he's the winner. Bro, he sent in a 45-second interview that Taz says this just blew everybody away.
Mm-hmm.
He brought him on the show and stuff and all that. And bro, what's going to change the business is guys, an individual that draws the audience. Like we'll go back and look at professional wrestling, but bro, you could talk about there's been a steady decline since Stone Cold and Rock have left the show.
Mm-hmm.
So we could make a case that Stone Cold and Rock, and even though the Attitude Era draw, your writing was great back then and everything, but you could make a case, bro. If I didn't have Stone Cold, Steve Austin, and The Rock, I may not have done as good as I probably did.
Right.
So like
Yep.
the individual stars that change, that are game changers, that come in and like their promos are great. You can't wait to hear what they say. You can't wait to see them beat somebody up. You can't wait to see another guy beat them up and hear what they're going to do and see what they're going to do about it. When we start getting guys like that in, and like if they 1, 2, 3, or 4 of them come in, you're going to increase your audience. Because today, who are those guys?
Yeah.
Can you Brock Lesnar? Bro, they have nobody for Brock Lesnar to fight against, and Brock Lesnar can't talk. He's got to go out there so every week, regardless of how good you like Brock Lesnar, when he's not wrestling, he's rerun television. He's standing in the ring doing nothing, and Paul Heyman's kind of the same promo of every single time.
Right.
But it's just that the words are different, barely different. They're basically the same. When we get somebody that can talk the part and look the part and say, and go in there and people are gonna say wow, this guy may beat up Brock Lesnar. This guy might be able to take Brock. Then the audience will increase a little bit. We'll get a little growth spurt in the audience. 10 to 15 to 20% of the fans might start watching again because it's like, wow, this is like Brock's been beating everybody up for 5 years. For how long has it been? Like, boy, this guy can beat up Brock. Well, we need to get that guy. When that guy comes along, we'll get an increase in audience. Then maybe another guy that can fight with them and stuff and everything. That's what's going to increase the audience and get interest in the show, bro. Because Mad wrote a very interesting article the other day on WrestleZone, and he talked about Raw. The 3 hours is just ludicrous.
Right.
It's 3 hours of nothing happening followed by nothing happening. Mm-hmm. He said back in the day, the Attitude Era shows and the Nitros back then, he said they weren't great shows start to finish. They were great shows. They were average shows with segments of brilliance. Mm-hmm. Said you will sit through 2 hours of mud to get to a 10 to 15 minute gold nugget. Mm-hmm. Says you'll sit through a show if you can find a moment of brilliance in there. Mm-hmm. Bro, Raw today doesn't provide any of those.
Right.
Right. So when you can find people that can give you moments of brilliance during a show, you will have an increase in the audience because people will wait and want to see them. And I think that's the only thing that will change wrestling. Not the writing, not the thing, whatever. Just an individual that gets it, that can stand in the middle of that ring for 10 minutes with a microphone in his hand and compel the audience like Rock and Stone Cold used to do.
God, but and I hear you, Glenn. But Glenn, how could it be that there's only been 2 in the last 15 years?
Because they haven't grown up on what we grew up on. Bro, we grew up watching the greatest wrestlers ever in the history of professional wrestling. Yeah. These guys are growing up watching the scripted acrobats.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're educating themselves on Japanese wrestling. There got I tweeted the other day, bro. It's like the wrestling fan today. If you showed them Terry Funk versus Ric Flair, they go, "Oh, that match sucked. They didn't do anything."
Yeah,
You know,
you're right. You're right.
Yeah, and they would, and they
Yeah.
would. But you wouldn't if you showed them the angle of Terry Funk versus Ric Flair and the progression of the stories and the interviews to the match, they would say, "Wow, that's really, really good stuff." But you don't have guys that can do that. That can provide the segments, the interest of the soap opera leading up to the match. All they care about is like, let's just get these guys on TV and have a match. I can't wait to see Finn Balor wrestle Kevin Owens. Okay, all right, great.
Bro, it's so funny.
I can't wait either because I don't want to hear the interviews because the interviews are going to be terrible.
Glenn, it's so funny that you say that because, again, talk about, to give credit to Cornette. I remember Cornette, around 95 or something like that. I never saw it before growing up on the East Coast, bro. He introduced me to the empty arena match between Lawler and Funk, right? I thought this was the greatest thing I ever. Bro, can you imagine what people today would say if they saw that empty arena match?
Oh, God. Bro, to this day, they go to where he goes. I still today to this day, me and Ray Lloyd, Glacier, used to love that match. Like we talk about to this day, and still to this day, this is what makes wrestling great. Is you can remember that match. It's like Terry Funk hold his eye, going, "Where's Lawler? Where's he at? He's a yellow son of a bitch, Lance." My eye.
Can you imagine?
My eye.
Bro, can you imagine? Can you imagine an 18-year-old kid watching that match today?
Bro, could you imagine an empty arena match between Tyler Breeze and Kevin Owens?
All right. Bro, listen, Glenn, as always, man, I love this. I thank you for coming on, man. I always like to hear what you have to say. Glenn, listen, I'm in a business, Glenn. This is what's so hard on me. Glenn, everybody is waiting for the phone to ring for their one last great run. So nobody's ever honest. Everybody's always, being politically correct. Nobody's saying what they feel. That's why I love bringing you, on the show. You're always honest. You always give your insights. And I appreciate that, bro, because it really is hard to come across people like you.
Well, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Well, listen, everybody, thanks for joining the show here on WrestleLink. Remember, you can WrestleLink.com. Remember, you can follow me daily on VinceRussoBrand.com. Hope you join us next time. Thanks for coming.